the LFGG podcast with Easytv3 and myself, Connor. Thanks, Pherix, for coming on the stream today, being our special guest. Welcome, I guess, to start the conversation. How did you get into WoW PvP?
Uh, all right. It's kind of a big question, but
That's
I
that's
started
fine.
back. Yeah, I started playing WoW in Legion. I didn't really play WoW before that, and I played really casually. I just played with some of my friends, but they were all better than me. I was like 1800 at best. I played Druid. I wasn't really that good, but I wanted to be really good. I used to watch all the tournaments and think like, wow, maybe I can be there one day. Yeah, it turns out Druid was not for me. That was very bad. BFA season 1 comes around, I'm playing Arcane, having a great time. One of my friends comes up to me and he goes, "Hey man, you should try Fire. This really cool ability called Greater Pyroblast. I think you'll like it." I'm like, "Okay, I can get behind that." I played MLD, got to 2300, and that was pretty much my season 1, first ever time like trying to push. Come season 2, all the new trinkets, I wasn't a fan, quit the game. Came back season 3, I got my first Glad title. I played Rogue Mage. I wasn't a huge fan of the Rogue Mage. It was like a little too quick for me, just because getting into the game and trying to really play it at a halfway decent high level. Um, Playing a comp like Rogue Mage, where it actually requires a little bit of setup, is kind of hard. So, I got like my 2700 achievement. I got my first Glad season 3, and I pretty much called it there. Come season 4, I'm like, okay, I really want to try to get a rank 1 title. It's gonna be really hard. I'm not sure if I'm ready yet, but I think I played 15,000 games when counted in season 4 alone
Wow.
of 2s and 3s just to like try everything. I played every comp, played God Comp, MLD, Rogue Mage, Armpelli, like all these type of comps. I just played everything I could with everybody I was able to play with. Started to, get back, get up, get up, get up. I kind of got stuck at like 27, 2800. Um, I actually made a post on the forums to find my team. I don't know how that actually worked, but I found people from the forums to play with, to main team with, which was
On the
really
on
crazy
the
to me.
WoW arena forums?
Yeah, on the WoW Arena forums.
Oh, I've been
That
on
place is
there, man.
usually
That's
toxic.
yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to be there.
No.
I'm like, you know what? Mediocre mage looking for some teammates. Found some people and we queued it up, and wow, we made it.
Dude, well,
But
that's really cool, honestly, because I didn't know you started in Legion. So for you to start the game that recent and to actually achieve rank 1, and I know people are gonna try to cheapen it for you because it's season 4
right,
BFA, and people are gonna say GPI or whatever.
Way to
But
cheapen it already, dude. Already
yeah,
yeah,
cheapening
that's
it.
usually how it goes.
yeah, but like I think that's bullshit, man. Like even like custom TV, it said in quotations first or glad quote unquote 2400. Glad's glad. You know what I mean? Like if you yeah, this season was long and MMR was broken, but I think if you achieve Gladiator, you should be stoked on it. I don't know. I think that's fine.
Yeah, obviously, Gladiator's not like the highest title, but if you're like a first time PvPer and you're getting in there and you get your title no matter how inflated the season is, that's a really cool thing to get. Like not everybody is going to
A
get a
hundred
Gladiator
percent,
title.
dude. Yeah, and I started streaming maybe 5 months ago, and I have been playing the game for like 12 years, and I just want to say I was totally ignorant to the fact that people were coming in my stream being like, "Hey man, can you help me get my first 1600? Hey man, can you help me get my first 1800?" And I'm thinking there like everyone had 2K, everyone had 2200, like everyone I knew in the game had at least 2400. Like I thought that was just like that's what the baseline was. And to go back and talk to new players and people who PvP'd for 10 years, you're like, yeah, man, I've never been 2K. It's my goal. Like, I think Gladiator, it's not quite the same as it was with being percent based, but I think, there's some seasons that percent based Glad was memes. Could used to be able to get it in twos, used to be able to get it in fives. Like, no one brings that up. Like, I don't know. I think the way that it's set up right now is fine, if I'm being honest.
For your rank one partners, were those the ones you found on the well forums, or were those different people that kind of help you get to that stepping stone to play with whoever
Uh,
you played with?
so my healer Vindy, I did find him from the forums.
Shit.
Yeah, I know.
That's
In
crazy.
season 3, I played with Mucho Power, my warlock. Maybe like 1 or 2 weeks before season ended, we didn't really play too much at all, but we kind of kept each other as like mutual friends. Maybe we'll queue in the future. And I was looking for warlocks to finally play with. I hit him up and he wanted to play too. So together we kind of went healer hunting and tried to find every healer that we could to play with. And then we finally made the post on the forums and we found our pally.
Dude,
So
that's awesome that you had that option available. I honestly have never thought about doing forum posting for teams. Never thought about that before. But I mean, if
I
the people
I
that
ran out of
scour it and look at it,
yeah. I ran out of other ideas. Like
Well,
I'd be
LFG is
looking
so toxic, man. Like,
yeah, I'd be
yeah,
looking in
LFG's
LFG, it'd be like 2800 mage and lock looking for healer, and then you get, 2600 monk or something that's telling you you're terrible at the game and never wants to play with you after a loss.
like
yeah,
I hate to admit this, but like prior to streaming and putting my stream title in LFG, I never went into LFG. Like I literally never went there for anything for the past like 4 or 5 seasons. I either just waited till somebody was on my tag or like
a friend of a friend or something.
yeah, for like, hey, can I queue with this CEO we queued last time?
Oh,
I didn't
that's
add
how
them
I
in, like that
met.
sort of thing.
That's how I met you, Easy, in season 1. Like, I mean, the RBG pool small to begin with, and then the RBG pool on Alliance was even smaller. And it was just
Oh
like,
yeah,
there's no one to
yeah.
queue with, so the top 30 players. Like,
I feel like RBGs are even worse when it comes to LFG. Like
oh,
some of the real
it's
teams just
horrible.
never post an LFG. So if you want to be like on the real team for RBGs, you
You
have
have
to
to
know
know.
somebody.
Yeah, you have to know. Not even
It's like
somebody.
so
You need
much
to know
work.
like 6 out of the 10, or else they're just like,
Yeah, nobody wants to suggest. Yeah, it's a
yeah.
struggle. I feel it honestly, but
So, Pherix, what do you say? What is your opinion on BFA season 4?
Uh, I mean,
I'm sure you're mixed.
overall, it's definitely one of those interesting seasons, right? Like I don't think it should have went as long as it should have. I really feel like they could have taken it and split it into like 2 separate seasons. That
100%.
that might have made it like a lot better, and especially because like the inflation. Like you had people on Ally that hit 3300 and didn't get a rank 1 title. I know the other MLP, the Ally MLP that we fought a lot. They peaked at 3310 and they didn't get a rank 1 title. Like that's
it's like
crazy to me
easy
that
gaming or easy
yeah,
game and
easy game
tonal
and
or
tonal.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
It's just crazy how you can get that high rated in a season and not be able to say you're a rank 1. Like you're a 3300 glad. At that point, you're over 1,000 like points from that 2400 almost. Like it's just
Yeah,
crazy to me that you're 900 points in between the threshold of like I hit 2400 and glad to rank 1. There shouldn't be
yeah,
that much
that much
room unless they
disparity.
put something in there, and
Do you
that's
think
like the
it's a
main issue.
one-off? Do you think it's a one-off problem, or do you think they actually need to put in like a
I don't actually
2700?
think I don't think the idea would be too bit terrible of like putting something in between like 2700 and rank 1 because
Uh,
you don't really get anything outside of that. You
I
don't
think
even get an
it's
achievement for 3K.
I think it's super weird that it happened this way, though. Like, I don't think this season specifically is like BFA mechanics corruption. I don't think that's like the reason we had so much inflation. I think we just had a really unique situation where it was the longest season this game
Of
has
all time,
ever
yeah.
had.
Yeah,
We
I
had
agree.
more
Yeah,
people
it's
playing
true.
this game due to COVID and people being home. Like a brand new stay at home mom who's never played arena before but played 5 years ago with her boyfriend one time decided to queue up an arena. I mean, she queued what, like 1500, which everybody can get in an inflated season, and now she's being calculated into that rank 1 calculation. So
Yeah,
like
that's
I think
very
it's just
true.
like all of these factors like kind of pushed it into an insane inflation season. I don't think we're gonna have to see that again. You might be right that maybe there should have been something to be rewarded, like a pet or something to hit 3,000 rating that they should have just like a COVID pet that they should have added in just to give a little bit more push. But I think if anything, that would have just inflated the ladder even higher.
Right. But yeah, I don't know. It kind of hopefully it doesn't happen again, which I don't think it will. But
But you're
it's
definitely right.
the
Was it
It
like
feels bad
30,
for the Alliance team.
39 weeks, right?
can actually look. I think it was 38 or 39, which is
Which
the longest season
is
we've had for a
ever,
while.
I
Yeah,
think.
39 weeks.
That's
39 weeks.
like that's I think that's an anomaly. I think Blizzard, like, that's so long. Like, I remember queuing at the start of the season like that was like a year ago, it feels like, you know what I mean? Like, it was like,
Right.
and then
Yeah.
I never thought corruption, when they introduced corruption, I never thought it would be in PvP. I'm not gonna lie. I never thought that they would actually put the. I thought they would just disable it like they did Legion Legendaries. But I mean, did you like obviously at the end when you had, I don't know if you're like a haste guy, you had like 900% haste and it was fun and everyone had fun. Like I had full gushing. It was a lot of fun as a rogue. But did you like that style gameplay or did you just like?
Well, I guess it kind of goes back and forth because, you're out here having a good time. You've got 2-second G-Pies coming. You can shoot 2-second baseline G-Pies, or you can decide to opt for like playing full versatility and stalling out the game, which I don't think is a good way to play anyway. I don't want any game to really go to high dampening. Which you have some teams on the ladder that are opting for anywhere from like 50% versus or higher on
Yeah.
their entire like team to just be full tank and try to take it to dampening. I don't think that's like super great for the game. I also don't think like especially for like gushing wounds, you've got like assassination rogues and demon hunters. Anywhere from like 30 to 40% of their damage is coming from pretty much a foreign object that's not even in their kit. I don't think that's
Yeah.
super great for the game either. Like, you'd lose to a rogue mage. You look at the rogue's damage. 45% of his damage was gushing wound, and then you're sitting there like, wow, he didn't even do anything.
Yeah, you just kidneyed. So
Right, getting an auto attack and all this stuff is procking a passive dot that you're not even really having to deal with.
I mean, I was like literally, I took mutilate off my bars and twos and just put throwing knife there instead because it had a higher chance of proccing, gushing wounds, like doing twos. So that's like a scumbag
Right.
thing that I was doing. But do you like have you played a lot of pre-patch, or you like obviously you're just messing around, or have you queued?
Uh,
Have you queued with your
I've
boys?
I played twos, I played threes, played a little bit of beta too. It's definitely pre-patch feels a lot different than where the game was because a lot of the damage, especially coming from like, well, first off, you don't even see assassination rogue anymore. That's just not a thing.
Yeah,
I've
they're
queued
gone.
probably close to 500 games in pre-patch and just no assassination rogues. So that entire spec is now just dead.
Well,
Demon Hunter, I barely see any of them now. They're not really doing that well anyway, because a lot of their damage is gushing wound. So you're losing a lot of passive damage on those like melee characters. Um, so right there, you have two specs that are just kind of gone. Obviously, it's good that they took out all the versatility. You only have like 20 to like 30% verse at max now, so games are going a lot quicker. Um, I think getting rid of like all the mastery and haste stamps and crit are all fine too.
yeah, I don't
They
have a
don't they don't
I don't
really
have a
need to be
problem with
in.
that. My my one thing I will say about Assassination Rogue, I think obviously I'm an Assassination Rogue. Played it all at BFA. Um, I'm playing sub now because it's just so much better. But I think how it's so strong right now, and it's so much harder to play than Assassination. Like just as far as what you have to do. I think if they nerf it, I think it's gonna get nerfed because it's so strong. I think if they nerf it and it's even 5% better, like damage wise, I think everyone will go back to Assassination. That isn't like Peekaboo, Nesper, Stun God, like the top players. I think most
Right.
people would go back to Assassination just because it's like playing an Arms Warrior. You know what I mean? Like you can still win with a kidney on every 20 seconds. Like so, I think Blizzard has to be really conscious about that because the meta could just fully shift back in one nerf of Shadow Strike damage. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah, I think Assassination is kind of sleeper right now. I know a lot of people have been playing sub,
yeah,
but that's just because sub can, I feel like, do more. The shadowy duel is nuts.
it's
Like being able to
ridiculous.
sap off of
Right.
kidneys in the right situation is nuts. But I also think that, especially when with people going alliance and night elf being a thing, I think we might actually see assassination. Like Garrote is kind of strong. Like Garrote by itself is really strong. I feel like
Also,
people don't
they have a
realize.
bigger MS. It's like a 10% more MS, which is
Yeah,
big. That's big. Like
and
that's
it's
a
easier to
lot.
play.
It's
Like you really don't have
so
to do
much
as
easier
much.
to play. Like I think you
So
have
I
to
feel like
play sub at a super optimal level for it to be better. Like the spec has to be a lot better for the average rogue to play it because you have to be so good at it.
Ferris, you see yourself playing MLD again next patch or next season? Or are you thinking maybe?
Honestly, I played a little bit of Beta Frost AF, and that comp feels disgusting. It's like kind of back to where old MLD was, where you just rot everything down with your Aflock, and you're just like applying pressure as a Frost Mage. I'm not sure really how Fire Distro is gonna be. It might still be okay. I'm not too sure. Fire Distro doesn't look the greatest in beta. It looks really good in pre-patch right now, just because of like all the Azure traits that you have in the neck. Um, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm gonna try to play it, but if anything, I'm probably still gonna play a caster comp like God comp.
Yeah, I feel like Godcomp's gonna be so strong. Like,
Are you guys nervous to play not fire? Because
no.
I'm nervous not to play. Like I want to play assassination. I'm good at it, and it's easy. So like, Pherix, you got rank 1 as fire. I don't know how
Right.
experienced you are as the other 2 specs, but are you nervous? A little bit.
I
Like
mean, it's definitely gonna be a pretty big change. I mean,
yeah,
obviously, still playing the cord class. You sheep things, you blink
yeah,
around, and you kite, but you have a whole different kit. Like with Frost, you have to focus on okay, you need to root your enemies, and then get a flurry proc or whatever, and shatter for crits. You
yeah.
don't have to worry about any of that when you're playing fire. You cast fireball until you get a crit, and then you insta cast your fire blast, get the free pyro, rinse and repeat. Pretty much that's your entire kit. For arcane, you've got a lot more utility. You can kind of kite around a little more and spam arcane missiles. But
I always
it
looked at it. I always looked at it
what's
like
up?
mages as sheep. Like that's kind of like the main thing. Once you figure out your sheep DRs and when is the best time and how to react defensively to cooldowns,
Yeah.
it's just like 1, 2, 3, 4 in some variation. Like instead of 1, 1, 2, 3, you're doing 3, 2, 1, 1. But it's 1, 2, 3, 4 for damage, and then after that, once you get the poly down, that mage is pretty much GG from there.
Is fire
Pretty much
dead?
it. Yeah.
Is fire dead because of the G-Pie nerf?
I don't necessarily
No,
think
I don't
fire's
think
dead at
so.
all.
Yeah,
I think it'll be really good in RMP.
yeah, I
Well,
think
it's got insane burst
warrior
still.
mage might
Yeah.
actually be really good with fire too.
Yeah,
Have-
with the new crit change that they did, so changing the crit multiplier back to 1.75 instead of 1.5, it makes combustion do a lot more damage.
And I think that DB is like no small joke. Like as long as you're not playing with something like a priest or something that uses that DR pretty heavily with like MCs or like fears or whatever, I think having that DB sheep opportunity is going to actually be kind of massive.
Yeah, I was just gonna
Yeah,
say DB as a rogue mage is huge when you can blink DB and guarantee that sheep. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah,
right.
like that's so big. I think so.
I think
Yeah,
some of the ratios might help with that. Like if you guys saw the was that the mirror torment, so you're gonna be able to mirror torment poly kind of thing. I think there's
Yeah.
gonna be stuff that can help you set it up, but yeah, I definitely think tier 1 is gonna be rogue mage, but I'm super excited for shadow play.
Do you think it's gonna be rogue mage? Well, I think they're gonna. Honestly, I think
can't
they're
go
gonna
wrong with
nerf.
rogue mage.
I think they're gonna nerf the shit out of sub. Honestly, like I don't see how they can. Like I'm scared for sub. I'm scared for ret. Like I'm scared for shadow priest. Like
I
those
think disc
three.
might get touched and that might hurt, but then you just play with a Wrestler Druid.
I
Honestly,
th-
RMD might be
I
huge.
can't see thought
Yeah,
steal staying the way it is. Like it literally
that
just
yeah,
eliminates
I think that ability is actually like
detrimental to the
overtuned.
game.
It
Like
it
it's
actually
yeah.
affects mage, especially mage, in a really really bad way. Um, it's basically like you have dark sim, but you can't outplay the ability.
Yeah,
Like, I'm,
and it's like 20
Then
seconds,
there's no
right?
cast. Yeah, this yeah.
So it's like not maybe if they made it like one time, like they use it once, you know what I mean? Like
I
well,
think it
okay,
should
it's
just be
like
dispellable or something,
yeah,
blockable,
yeah, yeah.
something.
yeah.
Because anything you do, there's just you have the first element where you as the mage you're not able to cast a sheep for 20 seconds, right? But on
Mhm.
top of that, you have a priest running around now that can cast sheep. And what if he goes for a sheep on your healer? Then you have to kick him on arcane. Now he's free to cast whatever he wants.
Yeah, you can shadow or holy, right? So that's so strong. I can't believe it's still the way it is right now.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, it's just crazy.
Do you
No,
guys
my biggest
think
gripe is that it's not.
uh,
You can't take it off. Like
yeah,
that's just like the
you can't
biggest thing
like
I keep
spell
complaining
steal it or
about with it.
something?
Yeah,
You
no
can't
MD or
block it. No,
anything.
Yeah.
you can't dispel it. Can't trinket it. It's just literally you cannot poly.
What
And
if it
there's
was
times
like
where like
8
you have to.
seconds? What if it was like 8 seconds?
I feel like 8 to 10 would be a lot better because
I'd
you
rather
20
know
is ridiculous.
cut the cooldown in half for them. Even it's a minute and a half cooldown. So if like they
Yeah.
I'd be fine with them being able to take it for like 5 to 8 seconds and then just cutting their cooldown on it in half because like 20 seconds is literally almost 2 goes. If they do it right, they can get 2 goes out of that stalled out, which
Especially in
I mean,
twos. You just do it in the opener and then the mate like it's literally The
You
mage
just
can't
can't
peel.
get a sheep. You have to throw like blind or something, or and in the case where you're playing rogue mage, you go for like a blind sheep combo off because your rogue can't sap or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He can take it, and
Yeah,
stop
you
the
got nothing.
go.
Can't peel. Can't aggressively do
Nothing
it.
off, right? The only nice thing is like if they do take Poly, you have to spec into it, of course. You can play ring, and you can still land a ring, but they have to be like relatively still.
Yeah, they have to like get rung. Like you can't DB ring or something. You can't like.
Right.
I guess you could cheat.
Well,
Like
you
if you're
can still
playing with
DB
sub.
ring if you're playing
Yeah, if
fire.
you're playing fire. But I mean, I guess you could like cheap into a ring. I guess, but I don't know.
It makes it a lot harder. I don't think that ability is like necessarily balanced at all. I feel like it should be looked at.
Have you guys have you picked your covenant? Is it the same for all three specs or like?
Oh man, I was actually watching the Mage podcast with Zico Zaryu and Vinruki the other day, and they were talking about the same thing, and they're all thinking about picking different ones. So
I actually
nobody
don't
nobody
mind
has an
that.
idea.
I don't mind that. Like I'd rather everyone play something what they want to play instead of everyone being necro. You know what I mean? Like
I don't know about
Yeah.
Mage taking Necro. I think
Yeah, no, that one is the one they said do not pick.
yeah.
yeah.
I,
um
I
I just
like the
meant
Radiant
I just
Spark
meant in
build.
general for any class. Like
right.
it's cool to have that little variance. Like play what you want. But they've nerfed them into the ground for the most part. Like from what I've seen, like they're making it almost like the choice doesn't really matter. Like there's a couple strong ones, but it's so hard to balance. Like I
Yeah.
don't see how they could possibly balance the system on system on system on top of gear on top of fucking
Right.
like
Well, that's the thing. You have to, if you want to play competitively, like you want to play at the top of the top, you have to pick your faction, you have to pick your covenant, you have to pick your gear, you have to pick your legendary. You've
yeah.
got, all this, and you got to pick your soulbinds on your covenant, right? You
And
have all this
yeah.
stuff you have to pick. It's just
And
to
then you have
play
to pick the
arena,
right people.
right?
Then you gotta have some fucking friends to play with. Like
Right.
it's the barrier of entry is so high. Yeah, do you have high hopes for Shadowlands Arena or the game in general, or are you nervous? What do you guys think?
Honestly, I'm not putting too much into it. I don't think it's gonna. I don't think season one's gonna go that well. Um, Honestly, it took them like 3 weeks to actually fix beta arena, so it was halfway playable. They just now got that fixed. They haven't done any PvP tuning at all. There's PvE trinkets that you can use that are
Better than
more or
dress.
less, yeah, more or less better than Dress Gath and Voodoo Totem. They haven't even taken a look at those. We've got release coming up in what 2 weeks now, and they haven't done anything, which worries me
It's
a little
terrifying.
bit.
I think it's really scary because people are gonna be ready, right? Like the season one's like December 8th, right? Something like that. 2 weeks after, and
Yeah,
people
so
are gonna be
yeah, I
ready.
think it's like December, early December.
Yeah,
People are going to be ready to play like they already are,
yeah.
and it's just not, it probably isn't going to go that well.
I'm super excited. I am very optimistic. I do hear everything that you're saying with like the barrier entry. That really does suck, and I agree with that. I don't know why they keep doing that. Like we just got over corruption, Azurite, neck, and all of this stuff, and now they're going to go into something very similar where it could even be worse. You make the wrong choice, and now you're 2 weeks behind your partners. But I honestly am super excited. I think that new is always better, even if it's in the wrong direction. My biggest complaint is the time of launch. Like I would have been totally fine with them pushing back the launch of the expansion even another month,
Mhm.
like after Christmas or something, because like uh, for me, honestly, no life, no friends. It's not a big deal. I'm just not going to do Thanksgiving with my family, right? Whatever, not a big deal. There's going to be plenty. There's going to be plenty of Thanksgivings and holidays to come, but it does kind of suck from like my fiance's point of view, or like the people that can't take off for Thanksgiving or had already planned a vacation at this time, but the expansion got pushed back and now they're being hit with bam, the expansion is coming out this day and this time, and they can't get the time off of work because they already took that time off. They couldn't change it. I think
Sure.
it was poor planning, I think, on the timing, and I get it. Like it's a weird year, and people were working from home from Blizzard. They're not in the office. It's hard to kind of set everything up perfectly, and no matter what day you pick it, it's never going to work for everybody. But I don't know. I really wish that they would have maybe pushed it a little bit further. I'm fine with pre-patch a little longer, but I think the timing of the launch is kind of shitty. Is all, I guess.
Well, being a Canadian, Thanksgiving happened a couple weeks ago, so not too worried about that. But I am worried about the Christmas holidays. Like, I mean, I guess no one's gonna be really doing anything as far as like in Canada where I live. Everything just got shut down. No public gatherings, none of that stuff again. So, it's like
I
I'm
think
gonna be
Mythic
home.
Raid launches like a week before. Doesn't Mythic Raid come out like 1 week before
Yeah,
Christmas
I
or
was about
something?
to say, I've heard that like a lot of the Mythic
I bet
Raiders
they're gonna
have
freak
to,
out. Yeah, they're gonna have to raid on Christmas
well,
Day and stuff, right? Like,
especially like the world, race to world first people that, they're playing, 14 hours a day and they're actually like at a place away from their home. There is
yeah.
no like Christmas. That's not happening.
I
You're
doubt
raiding.
they'll do that where limit gets all together during COVID. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
I think it might be from home this time, but
Oh yeah.
like
Yeah,
it'd be
probably.
horrible to like unless you're getting like I don't know how much like I know a couple people that raid in limit, but I don't think they're making like enough money to live. Like I wouldn't want to not be with my family for like Christmas because I'm raiding. Like I don't know. I feel like
Right.
that's a horrible. Let's be like that. It's the same if it was like a rank 1 push raid at Christmas. Like, would you guys do that? Like,
Dude, yeah, I would not see my family, dude.
Yeah, I
really?
can't do it.
Wow.
Something
Sorry,
came up.
guys.
Yeah. We got to be out of here at 5. Like,
Yeah.
all right, fair enough. Fair enough. Um, do you like the direction at least that they're trying to go with PvP gear in Shadowlands? Did you like the? I mean, I
Well,
don't think anyone liked dressed claw. I don't think anyone liked all that stuff. So,
like
what's
the
your
the
take on
thing
it?
is, okay, they made a good change. They put PvP like vendors in.
Yeah.
But the issue is if PvE gear is still superior to PvP gear, the PvP vendors are irrelevant.
Well,
And from the way it's looking, you're able to get heroic and mythic gear that's just higher eye level than any of the honor gear and even
yeah.
conquest, some of the conquest gear.
Well, the I would say their argument to that is if they put the best gear on the vendor with your optimized stats, then rating and mythic plus becomes obsolete, right? Like,
Right. But there'll always be like pieces from raid. You're gonna find the cloth haste verse boots from this boss that you need to go
yeah,
kill, and
yeah,
then they're on mythic, so you get them like 10 eye levels higher than the
yeah.
conquest gear.
Do you like the trinket? Do you think that's gonna or the 2
I think the
trinket
trinket is
bonus?
good.
Think the
Trinket is
bonus?
good.
Yeah. Do you
The
think it's
PvP
gonna
ones.
Do you think it's gonna do enough? Do you think people are not gonna use those PVE trinkets, or you think?
I don't think so. I don't think they're enough.
Yeah,
I
I don't think so
just
either.
went human because after playing beta and after they said they tuned the trinkets from PvE, they're still very, very overtuned. I was playing with one the other day and it was you cast a fireball and it pretty much does the same damage as a GPI. It's a 1 minute, 30-second cooldown and it's an instant cast GPI.
Okay,
And I'm like, well,
that's
can't
broken.
go wrong with that trinket. Like, why would I? If you have like a 40% versatility buff, okay, you're getting maybe anywhere from like 4 to 8%, depending on how much verse you have. Or you can take a trinket that does 10k damage instantly.
Yeah,
You can just
on
execute
your
people with
biggest
that.
go, yeah, it doesn't even matter. Do you think if
And
they
then,
added the
yeah.
defensive bonus in, it would make it better, or is that just too? Is that
Uh,
just stalls the game out again, right? Like it's like
right, yeah, and then you're getting to like that whole everybody's gonna be wearing that versatility.
80% dampening.
Everybody's gonna be damped out again, right?
I just like don't see how they.
I don't know. I don't think PvE gear and PvP is great.
Yeah, like I think the templates are too far, but I think why not just neutralize? Just the PvE trinkets just don't work.
Right.
Like why not? Why can't they make that? Make that like those 2 points connect? What do you think, Easy?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, it's always been this way. It's always been. I mean, you have like trinkets back from Dragon Soul. I mean, even in old
Yeah.
Naxxramas, like or secondary Naxxramas BC, you had OP trinkets that have always been a part of the game. I think that the way they look at it is it's an MMORPG. Like, I mean, they
Yeah,
look at it like
it's
you
not
play the
supposed
game
to
as
be
a
perfectly
whole, you get
balanced.
rewarded.
Yeah.
I think a big problem now isn't even so much the trinkets, because those have always been the issue, right? So that's always been a problem in the game. I think now it's the accessibility of the items. I think before it was kind of one of those things where like, okay, somebody's got this trinket. I'm trying to think of the one from Dragon Soul. There used to be an OP trinket from Dragon Soul that was like disgusting. I feel like I should look at it right now, actually. But like before, like you didn't, not
Cunning.
everybody had it. Cunning of the Cruel, yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody had that. So it was like one of those things where like you had 1 in 10 games and you saw somebody with a cunning, you're like, fuck, okay, well we lose.
Yeah.
But it's not a huge deal because it was so rare. Now every single game somebody has mythic dressed, mythic slappers. And you're playing your game, your gameplay is just completely twisted because you have to save every defensive iron bark or temp or something for that double dress because you know it's happening soon. If you drop below 70%, you're dead. So you got to
You're,
make sure you have
you're
something
just dead.
for it.
Yeah.
And you can't
Like
even,
so,
and if you're playing those classes that use the double dress, you can't even play the class. Like I can't even play a rogue without dressed or bike. You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
it's the new meta. It shapes the gameplay of the game, and I feel like that's the problem, not the item itself, because the item has always been here. It's the way you have to play now because everybody has it. Everybody's doing mythic
Right.
carries. Everybody's trying to make gold. Like just the availability and the accessibility of the items, in my opinion, is just too easy. It's too easy.
I mean, that's the thing. You actually have like PvPer's coming in and they're like, okay, I need to come buy from this guild. I need to go buy
yeah,
this mythic trinket
I need to start
because
raiding or like
I
I
need to
I
compete.
started raiding so I could literally get mythic dressed. Like actually, like
Yeah, it's either you start rating for it or you just pay people to do it for
yeah,
you.
Which yeah, I
And
feel like that's a problem too. But that goes like WoW tokens being an issue because like even though it's not a pay to play game, play a pay to play.
pay to
What is
win.
that? Pay to win. There it is. I feel like it kind of is. Like if you have money to dump into WoW tokens,
right,
you have such a massive gear
pay to have a
advantage on
really
somebody
large
who
advantage. Right.
doesn't want to spend money on it. Like, yeah.
In the beginning, yeah. Like eventually
Well,
it
same
evens
thing with
out.
like BOEs too. Like I remember
Oh, yeah.
there's a pair of pants from Nilotha, and they're
The cloth ones.
mythic eye level, and they're cloth and they're haste verse. I wanted those really bad because there weren't very many other like good
Hmm.
pairs of pants that were haste verse. And my server had them anywhere. I finally bought mine for like 700k. They came socketed and everything, so I didn't have to farm a socket. They had corruption on them,
Yeah.
and you
That's
can
just Blizzard being stupid though, releasing BOEs that could have corruption on it.
right.
Like that's just like an oversight because people spent millions of gold and like thousands of dollars. There's a website that tracked. You could pick what corruption you wanted. You could pick what item level, and it would tell
Yeah,
you on
actually,
all.
I
Yeah,
used
that's what
that
you did.
website.
Yeah,
Yep.
I've been on there and I was like, okay, well I need 9 WoW tokens to buy this BOE.
Maybe that was
Right.
smart then on their part because that's just people dumping money and then they just bait you
Yeah.
by changing it later. Oh, here you go. You can pick your corruption now.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I definitely think gear availability and being able to buy gear with technically money, like technically money. I think that's
Yeah.
problematic, and I think that kind of makes the trinket situation way worse than it needs to be. Like the 1 in 10 people that would have had that trinket before, like I feel like wasn't nearly as big of an issue as it is now.
Right.
Well,
Well, yeah, because
there's
you got
always been super OP trinkets in the game like Wrath, BC, Kata. Not Mop because they actually had PvP stats, but um, and not I guess not Watt either. And then Legion had nothing. I mean, Legion I think was just the templates were a good idea, but instead of getting rid of them, I think they should have expanded on them. Like let you pick what loadout you wanted, kind of. You know what I mean? Like, would you guys be okay with that? Like, oh, I want to play haste this game, or oh, I want to play verse this game. Like, would you
I bet I'd be
guys?
more okay with that than how it was in season 4.
Yeah,
That's for sure.
because then you can play alts. Like, Pherix, do you play alts? Like, I tried to, and it's
Right.
impossible.
Yeah,
Like, it's impossible to play.
I got really lucky. I was just finishing up school and I had a lot of time with COVID,
Hmm.
so I was able to play 3 mages.
Oh, okay.
But I only had, I had my main geared to the brim, and both alts were uh, okay. They were 465, 470. They got the job done pretty much. Like I didn't have time to min max them at all, or even get close to where they needed to be. But you know, still was able to
Do
play.
you like playing? Like, I've played the game for 14 years. It's a weird concept to me to have more than one of something. Like, I don't play more than one rogue because I have my rogue. I've played my rogue for 14 years. Like, do you I guess it's like a new thought process of having 3 mages. Like I would never even want 3 rogues because if something dropped on my alt rogue that I wanted on my main rogue, like I would feel pissed about it. Like, do you?
I mean, kind of, sort of. I like to have it on. I like to have one on each faction.
Hmm.
So I want to have one ally, one horde, and I usually have one for like just messing around with, like helping my friends get rating, or yeah, just I'm
Yeah,
able to play that one, and I don't really care about it.
that's fair.
So whatever happens, it happens.
I guess I was thinking about getting one for the twos, like viewer twos that I do because it's hard sometimes. I guess playing. Sometimes you're like 2400 CR and you're playing with someone who's never arenaed
Right, you've got
before, and they
really
just
high
get
MMR.
yeah, they just get absolutely destroyed, and you're like, okay, well, hope that was fun.
Right.
I do
Yeah,
that, but then you have an undergeared mage, and it's so much harder.
Yeah, that's what I feel like. Like I was like 480 equipped with 9 uh like 475 and 485 gushing wounds. Like I don't want to play an alt. Like I just want to like literally throwing knife someone to death. Like
yeah, I feel you. Because I had my main, and I was able to cap it at like 98% haste on my full haste set. My
oh
alt
wow.
only got up to 80, and then my third alt was only able to get up to like 70. So I'm missing 20-30% haste on those
And,
characters.
and
It's a
you
big
feel
deal.
that.
It's a
Like that's
massive
huge. That's
deal. Yeah.
huge, right? Like
Yeah, I mean that's the point.
are you planning on rating for the gear the way it is shaping up to be, or are you gonna like are you just gonna buy it?
I'm not too necessarily sure what I'm gonna be doing yet. I think I have a decent amount of gold, so depending on how much things cost, I might buy a few. I might try to raid, depending.
Gold's going to be really easy to get, especially if you're
Oh yeah,
farming it in the first couple weeks because of the whole banning on the multi-boxing situation that's going on right now.
right.
Mats professions are going to just literally skyrocket. And like the best, like if you're leveling multiple characters in the first couple weeks, you're going to get a tremendous amount of materials that you're just going to be able to vendor. Is there's not like the biggest thing right now is like materials are so cheap, especially comparatively to other expansions. Like the dust or like the enchant stuff that you need and like the gems are literally like essentially almost better to vendor, but that's very unique. Like that's very very unique to an expansion. That's just because like multi-boxing like took off. There's certain points where you go and you farm. Like there's if you type in farm, like there's people that are literally farming raw materials right now,
Yeah.
and that's going to be cut down so
right.
much. So gold's going to be really easy to get. All you got to do is just like AFK for like 3 hours in a farm spot, spamming Arcane Explosion, and you're going to walk out of there with like WoW tokens worth of gold.
Oh
I
yeah,
also don't
exactly.
want to buy like as a raider. I don't want to spend fucking 10K a night on flasks and food, though. You know what I mean? Like, there's got to be a balance. Like, kind of,
Yeah, it's definitely gonna be. Things will be very very expensive. I feel like.
yeah. At the start,
So
there always are. So
if you've got a profession and you can make stuff,
I always
definitely
go
try to
alchemy
make it.
just for the 2 hour flask. That saves me so much money. Like, and then trying to get the
I
rank
never
3.
flask. I never flask, and I just get bitched
Yeah, I don't
at.
either. Never flask.
Wow.
I'm
Nope.
top arser, and they're bitching at me for no flask. It's like fuck it, dude.
Like I'm like fourth on damage, and they're like, "Man, what are you doing? You don't have it, yeah, flask or root or anything." I'm like, "I don't need it. I'm
Yeah, I
fourth on
don't need it.
damage."
Yeah,
Yep.
I'm popping. All right. Well, do you think rating like would do you if it was up to you would you play the game only PvP or do you think it's healthy for the community as a whole to have to dip your toe in all aspects of the game to be
Oh man,
optimal?
that's a tough one. I don't know. Personally, for me, if I could just log in queue arena and have gear and like good gear, I would play only arena. But I mean,
Yeah,
the
that's
state
fair.
of the game, it is an MMORPG, right? Like you should probably have to do at
Something.
least some of every aspect of the game to get what you want.
Yeah, I think that's I feel like a lot of people forget they like want to log in Q3s, get loot, get glad, and log out like it's Call of Duty or something. And a lot of people don't play the game that way. I'd say 90% of the people don't play the game that way. So there's a lot of complaining like people don't want to
Right, and you have
PVE.
it the other way too, right? Like you've got these PvE people that don't ever want to touch PvP, but they need it for conflict or whatever.
Yeah, or you need badge, or you need conflict, or what was it? The Azerite, like lots of best in slot Azerite shoulders were for DKs. I had people asking me for 1800, so they could get their shoulders for a DK. I'm like, yeah, it's BIS PVE. I'm like, okay.
Yeah,
So I
pretty
don't
much.
think that's a necessarily bad thing, because then maybe they start arenaing and they actually like it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, it's very true.
I think
But
it goes the other way too. Like people who would have never done a Mythic Plus are now finding friends doing Mythic Plus, and it's just kind of crossing the game. I feel like it's kind of good, honestly. Like doing something different inside of the game that maybe you wouldn't have done before is kind of good. I
Yeah.
never looked at it from a Call of Duty point of view. Like that's super interesting that that is probably why people kind of like it. Like you can just log in and press the Q button and bam, you're automatically into the action instead of having
Yeah.
to
I think that's why people
look
like
for a
Legion
group
so
and
much. Like, eye
do
level
all that
didn't
stuff.
matter. Did it really matter? Is like what 0.1% more stats per item level?
It's like, yeah, 1% per 10 level item
Yeah,
levels, I
yeah.
think.
Like, is that really?
1% difference.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not even like that much at all.
That's nothing, right? So like,
I like that though. That 0.001%, man. I was playing every day for
oh,
that
same. Like, I was like,
0.001%.
yeah, and like I was just gonna mention the biggest streamer I saw that I only saw PvP before was Sea. He just started raiding on stream because they had to farm out legendaries for the item level for their gear, you know, what I mean, for arenas. Like, I had never seen a whole group of pro PvPers start raiding together just to get item level. Like, that probably introduced so many people to the game. Like, I don't know.
Right.
I just don't think I don't think it's good for the game when it's so segregated the way it is. Like, oh, you're a PvPer, oh, you're a PvEer. Like, people forget that it's just a one big living, breathing world, kind of. And arena is such a small aspect of it, but it consumes like 90% of the talk, I think, for the hardcore players.
So Ferrix, now being a rank 1 major, you gonna go the toxic category? Are you now gonna put on the ego and
Yeah,
start ripping on people
not queue with
anytime?
3K XP non-rank ones.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's actually crazy to me. I don't really have an ego because I don't really deserve one. Like if I have 10 rank ones, you can maybe have an ego and be like, I'm pretty decent at the game. Like I think I'm, better than the average 2400 player, but I played Mage Lock. Like I try to not like really show off that, I got a rank one title. I got all this. They're like, oh yeah, you got rank one. How'd you do it? Yeah, I played Mage Lock. Okay, you don't really deserve it. Yeah, I know.
Still got it though. Like, how many people would be like, "It's so free, it's so free." Well, if
Oh,
it's so free, why don't you have it? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly. That's pretty much what I tell them. It's like, okay,
where's yours?
you played Mage Lock and you got stuck at 2800. Why didn't you get rank one? They're like, oh
It's a
well,
humble way to look at it.
we ran into Rogue Mage all the time. I'm like, yeah, me too.
You
I
think
almost
there's
lost
no
my
rogue
title because
mages?
we lost a Rogue Mage.
Yeah,
That's a humble way to look at it. I feel like no matter what comp you play, though, people are gonna say that. That's
Oh,
like
doesn't
if you played
a
anytime. It
hundred
Rogue
percent,
doesn't
Mage,
matter
you're gonna
what
get
you
hundred
say.
that. If
percent.
you Oh, you played Shadow Priest DK. Oh, you played Enhancement Shaman. That shit was
Oh,
Yeah.
you
OP.
played
I heard.
Turbo? Yeah, okay.
Or literally, oh, you
Yeah,
got it in BFA, or oh, you got your rank one in Wrath. No one even played on that battle group. You're trash. It's like, you could say it about everything ever. It's like, who cares? Like, I just don't
Well, like
understand. People have to
like the
shit
thing
on
is,
everything.
yeah. The thing is about season 4 that people have to understand is like everybody had corruption and had access to these overpowered comps. Like it wasn't just me that had 100% haste. A lot of other people had it too. Or they had, 50% verse playing Rogue Mage or whatever, right?
Yeah, at the
I
very
didn't
top where you
right.
guys are playing, it's an even playing field. Like, everyone has the sets, everyone has the gear. Like, you guys are all have sockets. Like, you're pushing the very highest PvP. Like, you guys are prepared for it. So to say that you had 100% haste is irrelevant because the major fighting has 100% haste. You know what I mean? Like,
it's all
Right.
relative. Yeah.
yeah. It's like being
I
in the
mean,
NBA and calling someone who also is the NBA. You're calling them trash, and it's like, dude, I'm also in the NBA. Like, I'm also a very good basketball player. Like, relatively
Right, yeah,
speaking, yeah. It's like,
exactly.
we're all here. Like, do you think Excellent brings up a good point? He thinks rank one should be class based instead of just percent based. How do you feel about that?
Mm,
Like, top 20
ah,
on your class,
top 20 on the class. I mean,
just a
it's
random
definitely
number.
interesting. Yeah, but oh man. Okay. Well, I guess you have to think about that in terms of like, okay, what is going to be overpowered? Let's say, you've got Mage and Rogue overpowered, and then
Hmm.
you have like Enhancement Shaman that's terrible, okay? Well, if you go look on the ladder, I'm actually going to go look right now. There are close to, I mean, what, 5, 10? Okay, there's like 12 mages on the front page alone. I mean, you could be, in that sense, you could be like 3,300 mage and not get rank 1, whereas some enhancement shaman at 2,600 got rank 1 or something. Just
Yeah,
like
I
completely random.
guess. Yeah.
I don't necessarily think
I
that's like
think
too great.
I think it'd be good. I don't think you would have that happening. I think you'd have enhancement shamans looking at the ladder and being like, "Oh shit, I can get this,"
Yeah,
and
true,
pushing
yeah.
it up a little bit. Because I feel like people go the path of least resistance. So like you may even have people who would play the shittiest possible class, the shittiest possible spec, just for that higher chance that they're going to get a rank 1 title. Like I think that you would have that. And there's always those people that actually like doing that. They play the weakest possible version of their class or comp or spec because they don't like being
Meta,
like
yeah.
everybody else. Like they like to switch it up a little bit.
That
You
makes
do bring up a
sense.
good point. You do bring up a really good point, though, is that you'd have so much disparity in CR because an enhancement shaman just is not going to get 3,400. So they're going to be there at like 3K, 29, 3K, whatever, if going off last season's MMR. But it is interesting. I definitely don't think the rank 1 setup right now is as balanced as possible because if you look at it, like we just said, I don't think in a single enhancement shaman got rank 1 last season. If you were a shaman, you had to be resto. Maybe one or two of them got it as Ellie, but I don't know if maybe did Gonas get it. I don't even know who got it as Ellie last season because there's just not that many of them. So I do
Mm.
think like that's not necessarily fair. You look at Mage Rogue though; they're all over the ladder.
Well, like there's another thing too. Okay, let's say you do want to play enhancement shaman, right? And let's say, Resto is the best healer in the game and every comp is being played with Resto. All 20 spots of rank 1 for shaman are going to be taken up by Resto, and even if you're 3,200, but all the other shamans are 3,300, you're not going to get a title.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. I guess like right now it is kind of I don't want to use the word balance, but it is kind of the lesser of evils. Because like what do you do? How do you balance the rank 1 titles out any different any
Maybe
differently?
account lock it.
I think that would actually be good. Like you can only
Get one
get one rank 1 per class that you get it on. Like you've got Crusader over here taking up like,
8
I don't know,
rank 1 spot or
5 to
6.
8 rank 1 spots
Yeah.
a season, playing the same comp on the same healer with
Yeah.
probably the same people.
Yeah. I think that'd be fair cuz then you can wear the title on any character on your or any class or any character on your account of the same class, right? So it wouldn't really matter.
Right.
I don't know.
Definitely interesting.
Do you think there should be like no faction? It should just be the combined factions again for rank 1. Get rid of the like the alliance rank 1, horde rank 1.
Uh Honestly, I think that would definitely help like more people playing. Like okay, we had, I think it was what, 175 spots on Horde, whereas there was only like 97 on Ally. That would definitely like make it so you had more people being able to play Ally or more people being able to play Horde. It doesn't matter where you go to just play the game, because eh, since season 4, you've had Alliance cutoff just being insane amounts of higher because nobody's playing on Ally.
Mhm.
So you've got way less spots. If you see anybody on Ally with the rank 1, you're like, okay, well they only had 97 spots, so they were
Insane or
just
whatever.
higher rated. Like yeah, just way better.
Do you think more people are going to migrate to alliance with the racials the way they are?
I think so. Yeah, a lot of people already have moved. I've myself just moved. Like a lot of Horde players are moving over now. I think Human's going to be insane again. Obviously, Night Elf for Rogue or whatever. Um,
Easy, you went alliance too, right?
Yeah, I went human
yeah.
for the trinket too. And I think Coltieren's insane for RBGs, like
Yeah,
bonkers.
just
The
booting people whenever you
10
want.
to 1. Yeah, like when you look at that ratio as in a 10v10, like where map distance is a factor, I think
Yeah.
Coltieren having literally a 10 to 1 advantage to any other race. Like nothing comes even close when it comes to RBGs. So I think Alliance is going to have a big boost there in the RBG community for that. Uh,
What's the tipping point to get the masses to go? That's the real thing. Because is it peekaboo? Is it, you know what I
no, I
mean?
don't.
Like is it guilds,
It's a
alliance?
I think it's a chain effect. I think it's a wave. I think like once the tipping point hits to where there's more people on Alliance than Horde, then it kind of paradoxes itself where more people want to play with people.
Right.
So if there's more people, people
Yeah,
will move. That kind of makes
exactly. Yeah,
sense. So I think the wave's starting to go. It just needs to get a little bit bigger. And then once like all of a sudden that person who wasn't going to transfer because they have 3 friends on Horde, well now 2 of their friends is on Alliance and it's 2v2. So now they're gonna be like, well fuck. That one person goes and that 4th person goes, and then it's just like just so on and so on kind of a thing. I think we talked about this last week, but if you look at all the ladders, EU, China, Russia, Germany, if you look at all of the regions, US was the only one that had a heavily Horde presence. Most of the other regions went Alliance all along because those ratios have just always been better. Human and Nelf are significantly better than Orc and Blood Elf and Troll and Goblin. Although Goblin, this last one with Spite was kind of a toss up, but the ratios have generally just been better, especially for like certain comps like Rogue Mage with a Night Elf Rogue, especially MLD into a Night Elf, like certain comp matchups
yeah,
were just so much better. And Dwarf lately with the Trinket meta, with Maledicts
Oh
and
yeah.
Claws, like Alliance just had such an advantage, but people still played Horde because when you go into LFG on Horde, it's way more fun to see 40 groups versus 5. And that's a big
I
reason we were all Horde.
I think you also have to take into account a lot of people needed to buy pieces of gear from like Mythic raids, or they wanted to Mythic raid. The barrier to entry, I feel like, is a lot lower on Horde, and there's more guilds to raid with
well, that's
because
what
it's
I was
just more
saying.
people to
Like,
play.
you can't just. It's not just the PvP players that need to go back Alliance. It's guilds that are named guilds because then they get. If you get 3 top 20 US guilds going Alliance, then maybe you get 30 top 1,000 guilds going Alliance. You know what I mean? Like the Mythic Plusers as well. Like I hear that Horde has a massive advantage in Mythic Plus. So like Blood Elf is too strong in Mythic Plus, and that's a huge part of the game now. So it's like I don't know. I would prefer to be Alliance personally, but I just don't know if you don't have partners. Still, I think in Shadowlands, it's gonna be really hard to LFG on Alliance, even with you two going. But you guys have partners, right? You guys aren't sitting in LFG looking for people to play with.
Have any partners?
Okay, well you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Chat,
no,
you have a rank 1 mage that needs friends.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Hit 'em
pretty
up.
much where I'm at, man. I don't know if my team's going over or anything, and I don't know if we're playing anymore. So I decided I'd just go and hopefully I find people.
Yeah, I think you're not gonna have an issue finding people. And like worst case scenario, like you have so much time to
Yeah.
Right.
decide if you want to go back Horde. Like halfway through the season, if it's just miserable on Alliance, then
Then you just go back, right? It's not
yeah,
like
it's
a
not a
huge,
big
huge
deal.
deal.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. I think all in all, I'm happy about the Alliance choice that I made. I do realize that I have less people to play with, but I have different people to play with too on Alliance. So it's kind of
Yeah, that's true.
it's good. It's good.
Um, do you like? I'm personally, I've watched a YouTube video and everyone's saying Rogue Mage is gonna be king, but we haven't mentioned Hunter's 1%. Are you guys like worried that Marksman is literally just gonna be like with that Covenant ability where they can shoot 3 line of sight? Like, what the hell? Like, what the hell is gonna happen? Like, they say Rogue or sorry Hunter Mage is gonna be the new Rogue Mage. Like, I
Um, I don't know. If
Honestly, yeah, I
anything, I
haven't
would say
seen
hunters are
anything on Hunter.
overdue. If you look at last season, I was just pulling up Arena Mate to look at the percentages, and Hunter had like 300 hunters on the ladder, whereas Holy Pally had 1,300. It was
was
like
gonna say
4% to 12% difference.
didn't
So like,
no hunters get rank 1 in season 3?
yeah, Notorious, not a
Yeah.
single hunter
And
got it.
that's like there's some good hunters like Dilly, Steve, like those guys are like legit. Like Jelly Beans, like those guys are fucking
Yeah, I think it was the first season Dilly didn't get rank 1 in like over a decade. And it just is like, like it's one of those things we feel bad for Hunter. But like none of the comps they played, I mean, Rhett just kind of just got fucked, and that used to be a really good comp for them. Cupid was huge. Disc was super weak until like Disc is such a weird spot, especially last season. Like you were either insane or you were terrible. Your
Mhm.
team was either safe and the other team was rotting, or you guys were all dying, panicking behind the pillar, couldn't do anything because you had a Disc Priest. Like there's no in between. I feel like it's still kind of that way.
think
So I feel like
Like melee cleaves are gonna run rampant in season 1.
I feel like at the start of every expansion, melee cleave just shreds.
That's what I was,
Like
yeah, that's what I'm
in
thinking.
BFA season 1, melee cleave was really dirty.
Turbo,
I
dude.
feel like melee cleave is always really, really strong. They scale really well, like with the gear at the start for some reason.
Yeah, I agree with that. Melees are really strong at the start. I think the only counter to that is a good healer. Like a really good healer is the counter to a double melee. If you have a good healer, because usually double melee is kind of short on CC, so they don't have. If your healer is weak, most double melee are just going to run through everything. But if you have a really strong healer that can handle that type of pressure, then eventually, if you have like a decent comp, double melee does kind of run into a little bit of an issue. Like they just don't have enough to kill, kind of a thing.
Maybe
Right.
yeah, chat saying frost mages might slow
Oh yeah,
down,
that's a good point.
right? Like,
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah,
point.
I don't actually know if like because the old way you used to play Frost Mage, you would run around and kite a lot, and in season 4 you kind of would just sit there and plant and
yeah, just
cast,
turret,
just
right?
not really worry about it.
Well,
Um,
DH is not a factor, it seems, right now,
I
and
don't know
yeah,
if
that's.
that's gonna be that way though.
I think
Have you
they're gonna
seen
get
the
buffed,
beta?
but
They're
I
one
feel like
shotting that
we
beta.
can't really base anything off
yeah,
pre-patch right now. If anything, it has to go by beta, and I think even beta is a little sketchy
I'm
to
just
look
happy
at.
Blade Dance is not the way it is, because as a rogue, it was just like, dude, you do everything I do, but 10 times better. Like, that's how I felt fighting any any DH as a rogue. So, I mean, I'm excited that I can maybe play Thug Cleave. Like, that looks fun. But
I think Thug will be pretty decent again.
I think it's gonna get nerfed. Like, I think I'm so scared that sub is gonna get absolutely shredded. Like, and then everyone just goes back to assassination, and then we all get made fun of for playing assassination again. So
Well, at least we won't have the gushing wound doing 40% of your damage, but yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they do balancing. The fact that they haven't really touched anything by now is a little worrying.
we were talking to Metaphors last week, and he said as far as healers go, he thinks Druid is going to be top dog just because of their pressure.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think a really high skilled druid can make big plays.
Yeah,
And also just keep team up, make big plays with like Cyclone. You've got Endcap Roar now. You've got like Bash. You've got Rake Stun if you spec into it, or not Rake, but Maim. Well, and Rake, I guess. You really have a lot. Like I think between that and Shaman, those are gonna be your 2 top healers.
he was saying, and Easy was agree. I guess all three of us agreed last week that Frost RMD is the hardest comp in the game to play. Do you feel that
Oh
sentiment?
yeah, definitely. That is a really really hard comp to play. Like I've tried playing that, and it is. You have to pretty much maximize CC. Like in that comp, you've got all this amount of CC where you have to keep it on both targets that you're not hitting all at the same time. Like you've got one dude perma cloned, the other dude's perma sheeped, and then you have to swap them while your rogue's doing damage. And
I
then
think it's a
when
really high skill cap comp, and I definitely
oh
think we're
yeah,
going to see a lot of it. I feel like the way damage has been lately, and the way Druid healing has been lately, you haven't been able to play it because damage was too high to where the Druid couldn't heal if he was going for clones and going for CC. And I think that it may be balanced out, so we may actually be seeing RMD running rampant, which honestly I'm a huge fan of. I think that it's a comp you need to play well to play it well. If that makes sense. Like you have to play well for it to go well. Otherwise, if you don't play well, that team just gets run over.
Well, that's why I feel like
Uh,
it's not going to be in the meta, because lots of people are going to see good Frost RMDs, and they're going to try to play it, and they're not going to get to 2400 even, because they're like, I don't understand why can't we land our clones and polys perfectly
well,
and get
it's just about your positioning and your timing of everything. Everything has to be really really thought out and well done with that comp. Like you need to have the healer and CC. Like as soon as you get them out of triple sheep, you put them in full clone. Sheep yards rotate back around, and then you've also got the other target on the team being either full sheep or full cloned, whatever. Then you also, you've got a druid bash. You've got all this like all this toolkit
yeah.
stuff that people haven't been able to use, like Easy said, because the damage is too high. So like the druid isn't able to heal. But now I think damage is a little more consistent. Like you've got like Affliction Warlock now, Shadow Priest, they're dotting things. You can deal with like, some dots ticking on a mage for a little bit to go for a bash clone. Like he's got time to and then, deal with that
Yeah,
after.
yeah, fair enough.
Instead of, taking 2 Dark Soul Chaos Bolts and your teammate's dead.
In a coil.
Right.
Yeah,
We can start wrapping it up. I did want to ask though, Pherix, like just to kind of as a first time rank one, do you have any advice for people maybe in the chat, maybe people watching the YouTube video later? What would you advise for somebody who's, like you said, a new player coming in maybe an expansion ago? What's your advice? What would you do? What would you recommend? I said 15,000 games, but
Yeah.
maybe like a plan of action for somebody who's in the chat, even right now, saying, "Hey, I want to become a rank one player." What do you recommend? What did it take for you to kind of make that
Uh,
happen?
I mean, I kinda took a really interesting approach to it. In a lot of season 3, I would AFK and go do other stuff, and I'd sit in LFG for hours on end trying to find teammates to play with. That is probably not a great idea. I would honestly, I feel like a lot of the streamers out there, like the low end streamers that like help, they're like, 27 through rank 1 or 2700 through rank 1 that are doing like viewer carries or whatever. I think it's actually really good to get some experience with like high rated people if you can and like understand the game a little better. Once you're able to do that, honestly, I really don't think LFG is great and it'll never be. I feel like this game's community is really really toxic even if the people you're playing with are really bad. But I feel like you just kind of have to find teammates and play games with anybody you can and try to play with people that are better than you because you can really get more experience and learn more from people that are better than you. If you're always playing with people that are on your skill level or worse than you, you're not going to learn more. You might play more games, but you're just not going to comprehend like, okay, this guy's going for a weird sheep right here. Why is he doing that? And he lands the sheep and then you're able to set up a kill off of it. Whatever. You just have to play the games, play with people, and hopefully you can branch out and kind of go up from there. That's pretty much all I got.
Solid advice.
yeah, for sure.
Do we want to reach out to the chat, see if we have any questions?
Yeah, if anyone in chat would like to ask a question, I would like to just add, uh, as far as what I've seen is stop caring about your current rating. If you're trying to learn the game and get better at the game, stop caring that you're dipping below 2100 or you're dipping below 1800 or whatever. Just like, if I wish you could hide your CR when you're queuing, you know what I mean? Like, so you could just literally
Q. Yeah, that's
just
a good
queue.
one.
Yeah, like just maybe you guys went 10 and 10 and you gained 1 point, but you learned a new CC chain and you consistently can do it. And then you queue with the same partners the next time and you go 6 and 4, or you know what I mean? Like, the game's all about repetition, it's all about playing with the same people. So that would be my advice, is just don't care about your rating, queue with people that are like-minded, and yeah. Is it
Yeah, good.
Excellence asks, is it better to play with any comp you can gather, or should you try to play a top tier comp?
I don't necessarily think you should play with like a bottom tier comp. So you don't want to play like Mage DK, but you don't
Yeah.
also have to play like let's say you're first starting the game and you've been watching the tournaments and you see that Frost RMD is running over everybody in the tournament. You probably don't want to play like a high skill cap comp,
Yeah.
but maybe you can play like Mage Lock or something where you can focus more on landing your CC. You've got time to do it or whatever. I just don't play like a really, really high skill cap comp because you're going to find yourself in too many situations where you don't know what to do and then you start falling behind and then you lose the game. Or you're playing actually just like the worst comp in the game, like, Mage DK. You just don't want to play that. Like, it just won't be fun. Things won't line up correctly. So, yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. I mean,
I don't
yeah, it's easy. Go ahead.
I don't think it's fun to lose. And
Yeah.
in the current game, the way it is at least, probably going to be, is like there are S tier comps, tier one comps, tier two comps. There's comps that are just better than another comp. And I think you're gonna learn better when you're in a positive mindset, which typically comes from winning more games.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, like what they said and they're spot on, is you gotta play the game. but you also want to have fun while you're doing it. So if playing the best comp in the game isn't going to be as fun as playing a slightly less version of that comp, but you're going to have way more fun. Play the less version of the comp until you're bored of it. You definitely want to have fun, but keep in mind putting yourself right away out of a disadvantage as soon as the gates open isn't fun either. So I think it's kind of a good balance between what's fun for you and what the best thing you can play is.
Yeah, that's really good advice. We have Zcor asking, he had a two-parter, I guess. He said, "What's the best advice you could give someone who's PvP'd at a very high level, who wants to learn PvP at a high level?" I think we kind of touched on that a little bit. And then he also said, uh, what do you like? What kind of advice would you give someone who's trying to transition from twos to threes?" Go Pherix.
All right. So best advice. Let's see. Okay, well, if you already PvE at a high level, you should somewhat have an understanding that, you have like a win condition. Okay, so if you're playing a comp, you need to understand, like, just like you're fighting a boss, you need to do these mechanics, okay? So then you pretty much have like arena mechanics such as like, okay, I need to live during this kidney shot, and then we're going to do a counter go where we go and CC their healer and then do our damage. Honestly, I think of arena as like a big game of chess. You take hits and then you deal them. So if you can live their goes and then you can do your own, you're able to understand the game a little better and then maximize like the damage and the CC you can do. That's what I got for there. For twos and threes, I think it's kind of easy. Like, let's say you're playing a mage and you want to play like rogue mage twos, you can just shift that into like rogue mage threes by just picking up a healer, working on like the same strategy. Like, I'm gonna go for a cheap shot on the healer. You're gonna polymorph him out, then you're gonna go on the kill target. You can pretty much like implement the same strategies there, and then like 2v2, and do it in threes just with the healer now, pretty much.
It's a bit. I think threes is honestly a bit slower, right? Like you can calm down and think a little bit more for the most part. Because in twos, like if you're playing a rogue mage twos, you got like what 2, 3 goes maybe before you just die, especially right now. So yeah, I definitely think it's pretty much the same. But yeah, I think having the third person there on both sides kind of slows down the game a little bit, especially with no dampening. So I don't know. Easy, you got anything you'd like to add to that?
I think 2v2 is a good place to start, and it's less fun in my personal opinion. But having a healer, damage twos, is like a really good place to start. If you're a
Yeah.
damage doing class, pick up a healer. If you're a healer, obviously pick up another damage doing class and just run twos. Because like the biggest part you're gonna learn from that is your muscle memory, like knowing like that order that you press your buttons. From a PVE point of view, you already know how to do the most amount of damage. Now you just need to make sure you're doing that in the tightest possible window, and you're doing it when you have something covering you, so that way there's no way to heal through it or no way to peel you or stop you from doing it. Those are like those little things that you need to just you'll figure out. But I honestly think the transition from 2v2 to 3v3 is like the exact same as transitioning from a mythic dungeon to a mythic raid. Like it's just more
Yeah.
people, more things you got to keep aware of. And the best way to do it is just do it. Just queue it up.
Also,
Keep it up.
yeah, healer DPS twos as a DPS standpoint, it's on you to land the CC chain, right? Like you gotta be able to, as a sub rogue, you're gonna kidney the healer while cheap shotting the kill target every time. Like you have like the repetition of doing that. Maybe it's awkward the first 10 games, but by the game 100, you're like that's what I gotta do. And then when you Q3s, that's already in your brain, right? Like the muscle memory, like Easy said. So yeah, that's those are both really good points for advice there. Is there any other questions we'd like to ask before we wrap this up? And Ferrix, are you gonna add me so we can queue or what? If I come alliance,
Hey man, I'll queue it up. Get
I
it.
got me and Easy. We queue once in a while, but only with Crusader. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah,
Those
most
those
positive team
solid
I've ever
games.
seen.
yeah, that was we bring that up once in a while. That was when Easy first started streaming. I think
Did you
that
guys you
propelled.
guys actually played with him, really?
Yeah, we've queued with him before.
I skew Crusader like a lot in season one. There's a lot of videos of him screaming at me on YouTube. You can probably
Yeah,
find them out there.
I'm
Yeah, yeah.
There's a
I'm
few memes
friends
out there.
I'm friends with Ron Paul, right? So him and Ron Paul have this like rivalry, obviously being holy paladins and both really good. But Ron told me because Crusader was always asking like I was in LFG looking to queue, and he'd ask on an alt, and he'd be like, "Let's queue, whatever." And I'd be like, "Ron says that you're a bad paladin." And I remember I have like screenshots of him just like absolutely freaking out, calling Ron like the worst paladin in the game, calling me the worst rogue. He's never met me before. Like he's like, "You're the worst. Why would I ever want to queue with you?" Like, I'm
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm like, man, this guy is like famous from just being so toxic. Like,
Yeah, I remember. I remember the first time I met him back in season 3, and I queued with him a little bit. Not a good time, man. That was terrible back then.
it's so stressful. It's so stressful playing with him because he is very talented. Like he knows exactly what he needs to do, and he knows what you need to do. But the way
Right.
he
He
says
understands
it,
the comp, and but yeah,
yeah,
it's really toxic about it.
it doesn't matter if you play perfect.
Oh, I mean,
You,
he even
yeah,
trashes on like Naj. One of the
yeah, I
best
know.
rogues in the game.
Yeah, he's like called Zaryu bad. I'm like, okay, all right. Yeah, he's a
Yeah,
bad.
it's
Yeah,
our bad.
Zaryu bad. He's a bad mage. You're right, guys.
Yeah, exactly. But that's just the way that guy is.
That's all right. I mean,
Um, what can you do?
well, anyways, guys, make sure you guys tune into Pherix on his stream. I'm gonna post it on the YouTube in the YouTube description there. But Pherix, if you want to toss out your socials there,
Yeah, I can. But just put it in the chat.
yeah, sure. If you just want to say them, either way.
All right. Well, I'll put my name. I just stream at Pherix1.
Pherix1, perfect. And
There you
then
go.
yeah, make sure you
Spelled
guys
with an
are.
F, right? You spell it with an F. Is that how
Yeah.
that?
Yep. There it is. Spell that with an F.
Yeah.
Huh?
Yeah.
And then Easy, make sure you guys are always following Easy on his stream. I think all three of our streams are non-toxic streams. So I mean, Easy,
Yeah.
I've never
Okay.
seen
Easy.
you
I,
get two talks.
Depends on what I'm doing, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know if
You
you watch
may
that
have
guy
to
play
tune out for
threes,
your
but
RBGs.
man,
Yeah. When you're queuing with viewers, I mean, when you're not, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm excited for
yeah. Okay.
Shadowlands. I'm excited for the game as a whole in general. Ferrix, I just want to thank you for coming on. I know we don't know each other that well, so
Hey, no worries. I appreciate the opportunity.
yeah, for sure. And Easy, I mean, as per usual.
It's fun doing it, man. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
glad we had you this time, Ferix. It's actually pretty exciting. I know we'll probably see each other out there in the other opposing sides of the arena yet again.
Maybe a little double
Yeah.
mage.
Little
Oh,
double
You,
right.
mage
you
action
Get
or
never
some
something
know,
coming
G-Pie
soon,
right?
dude.
action. Get
Yeah,
back in
absolutely.
action.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Season 1 shenanigans, double mage.
Yeah. Some massive viz G pie happening. We'll figure something
Dude.
out.
Oh,
Yeah. The
stop
Mass
it.
Invis G-Pie. Yep.
Stop
We'll
it.
figure something out, dude.
All right,
All right.
guys.
That's
Well,
cool.
I appreciate you guys coming in, and yeah, Ferrix, I'll definitely shoot you a message and give you a link to the video, and I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
GG's, boys.
GG's.
GG's.
All right, fellas. I guess I'll just come back here real quick. I just want to, before we stop the broadcast, I just want to say thanks to those guys for coming on. I want to say, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe on the YouTube channel, please. We have lots more content on this channel as far as past interviews, future interviews, highlight videos, how-to guides, all those things, all on YouTube. Make sure you follow Easytv3 and Pherix1 with a PH. All the info will be in the description at the bottom there. But thanks, guys, for watching, and have a good night.